Happy Father's Day to all of our fathers here and there. Let me open today's Sunday talk with a nice story about Mahatma Gandhi, the father of modern India. Gandhi's family was Hindu, but his father had friends from all religions. He was taught to respect the beliefs of others and was brought up in an atmosphere of love and trust. When he was 17, he went to England to study to be a lawyer. He started to read the Gita, a very important book for Hindus. He moved to South Africa and was thrown off a train because he refused to give up his first-class ticket to a white person. He decided to help people of color stand up for themselves. He had a message of nonviolence, of standing up for what is right and true should never lead to anger or violence. He taught people of color that they deserved respect and should speak up against unfair laws. He called this truth force. He organized Hindus, Muslims, and Christians of color. He returned to India and worked for the freedom of the Indians from British rule and to restore the honor of their Indian customs, to learn their own languages, to dress in Indian clothes, to live simply, and help with the problems of poor farmers. So on this Father's Day, I want to talk about the spiritual representation of Father's Day and the earthly beauty of fatherhood. A connection through which we can better understand why the instructions in all religions is to honor our fathers and mothers. My spiritual mentor and teacher wrote extensively about fathers, both historically and present day. One point he made historically about fathers was about the founding fathers of this nation. He said they were giants of spiritual achievements. Our nation is built on principles that are very, very high. That is why for 300 years we still carry the torch. The reason is that our forefathers, founding fathers, and really fathers, were equipped with intense philosophy, principles, and visions. Most people, in general, rarely think about the founding of their nation, the vision, the future of their nation. But on this day, Father's Day, I think it is nice to think about the founding fathers and how beautiful they were and how powerful they were. So today, send a goodwill gesture to your father. If your father was not a good father, if he was nasty, and you have wounds given to you by him, give him total forgiveness or a total gratitude so that you break the link to that wound that is created within you. It is a healing process. Bless his soul. Your father is, or if he has passed, was an important figure in your life. You might carry lots of wounds from your father. Sometimes maybe your father wounded your heart, your emotions, your mind. Maybe sometimes he blocked your development in some way. Maybe sometimes he neglected you. Even sometimes you might have wondered who he was. Maybe sometimes you feel or felt that your father was really a great man. Sometimes you felt that your father opened visions that has stayed with you forever as a source of strength and courage and development and striving. These are all good, but it is important to find a moment in your life, especially on Father's Day, when you settled your problems with your father, if you had problems. As a father yourself, or perhaps you are a grandfather or even a great-grandfather, you can talk to the young ones in your family about how they are going to create the future, just like the founding fathers of our nation. You can talk to them about those who lived a virtuous life, who did great things in the world and became good examples for thousands. You can discuss ways to cultivate virtues and how to use them in their daily life. A father will not just speak about these things, but needs to be a living example of virtue for his family. Children understand examples better than words. When children know about virtues and their effects, they will naturally strive to cultivate them and keep away from vices. Fathers and grandparents should also discuss spiritual subjects with their children. Spirituality is a progressive search for the cause of all that exists and for the laws governing all that exists. This is spirituality. It is living in harmony with the cause and its laws. To be spiritual does not mean to go to church or even to read sacred books. Whenever we limit the consciousness of our children with special religions and traditions and dogmas and doctrines, we stop their spiritual growth. Children must approach the mystery of life without prejudice or superstition. They must have respect toward all forms of worship, as long as they are within the boundaries of beauty and goodness and unity and freedom. Spirituality is a search for the supreme cause. It is living a life for the benefit of all and striving toward perfection. A father and or a grandfather or even an adopted father is like the guardian angel of his children. He must cultivate the best flowers in them and protect them from every danger, every possible danger, until they are mature enough to stand on their own feet. In many esoteric schools, God is not described as a male energy. First of all, God has no form. Certain Holy Scriptures describe God as Father, but certainly He is both Father and Mother. He has the compassion. God has the compassion of a woman. In a monastery that my teacher attended, he explained that the highest ranked individual there was his teacher's mother. He said that one day the teacher entered the room, The children all stood and gave a salutation and then sat down. A few minutes later, his teacher's mother entered the room. He went to her, kneeled, and kissed her hand. She sat in his chair and talked with the children for 2 hours. Sometimes students would ask my teacher, why do the masters choose to take a male appearance? He would answer, they do not always take a male appearance. Women masters are so clever, he said. They do not pollute. They do not pollute their auras with the base thought forms that our male masters do. Women masters are always in the backyard working with interplanetary, solar, and cosmic dimensions without letting anyone know. He explained there are between 35 and 40 women masters whose names that you have never heard because they are very advanced and clever enough not to reveal their name. Women are leading esotericism and wisdom in the world today. So, some masters never die. Some are male, some are female, because they have physical bodies, but like I said, some never die. When they pass the 4th initiation, then they may keep their bodies. It is a little known fact that Christ was a student of Mary. When Christ left, it was Mary who organized the church. She was the head of everything. The mother of the world was the mother of many saviors. She kept them in her womb for 9 months and taught them. When they were born and finished their work, then she continued on. She was known as Isis, Maya, Miriam, and Mary. She was even the mother of Hiawatha and of many saviors of South America. She is a great universal figure and one of the Pleiades. So let me talk about the Dharma of Fathers. Some people, when they are born, intuitively or instinctively follow their Dharma. Some people totally forget it because of the mixture of life that they are living. But some people remember their Dharma from childhood. For example, Master M, speaking about Urasvati, Helene Rourke, said, from childhood she knew what she was going to do. There are many things from age 10 forward that must be talked about in preparation for fatherhood. Because of limited time today, I'm not going to deliberate on all of these components, but I will mention a few, some practical points. And the first is this, and some of these ideas you've never heard of before and may think they are a bit antiquated, but if you look at the core ideal of each point, you're going to say, wow, as a father, I wish I had known these things. And I wish I had taught my boys such things. So the first is, a father must prepare himself for marriage from 10 years of age. Their fathers, mothers, teachers must prepare them for their duty. For example, impress on the boy's mind that he is going to build a healthy family, and that until marriage he will seriously watch himself and his health because he has a responsibility. The next point, he must be taught that while preparing himself for marriage, that he must see that he has enough earnings. The teaching tells us not to bring children into the world if we are not going to take care of them. Unexpected things do happen, but initially your plan to have children must be right. Financial problems of the family create so much tension. So the young man, soon to be a husband, and later a father, must learn to understand that I am going to marry, accept my responsibilities and duties, and not depend on my wife. As a father, as a grandfather, or caretaker of a young boy, teach these things to your sons and grandsons and those that you are responsible for. The next point is the Dharma of the Father is to have a sense of responsibility. This is so important. The sense of responsibility is nothing else but to obey your Dharma, your promise, the responsibility that you took on before birth. So what is your responsibility? Your responsibility is to take care of your wife and provide everything possible so that she is really healthy, happy, well-dressed, well-fed, and to provide an environment in which children will come and bloom there and become servers of humanity. The next point, be a good example for the children. If the father is not an example, then the man is lost. The children are lost because their psyche and character is built around the example of their father. Father is their vision. The father, he is everything. And the children must be proud of their father. And the last point, the Dharma of the Father is to evoke spirituality, nobility, honesty, and courage in his children. The ageless wisdom says that before you approach your upcoming incarnation and take your etheric body and be conceived, the order of God and the plan, your responsibility and duty in 1 second are revealed to you. The order of God and the plan, your responsibility, your duty in 1 second is revealed to you. Of course, the impression that you have at that moment depends on your past refinement. In the past, if you were refined, you carry that memory with you until you die. And when you died, you say one thing: I did my duty and responsibility. I did it. My teacher would tell his students, those who are busy working within the group, don't do the duties of your co-worker. Don't do the duties of your co-worker. It is for them to do. You do your own, and only your own. Even in the smaller things, do your Dharma and not the Dharma of others. To do the work the responsibilities, to do the responsibilities of your co-workers, you are blocking their opportunities given to them to do their own duty, to handle their own responsibilities. It might be that in one small job is an element of their life's Dharma, or a job to put them in a state of readiness for engaging in an important facet of their own Dharma. Sadly, I see you wantonly negating this spiritual law and doing the work of others, people, co-workers, doing the work of others because they think they are better, or they can do things better, or they try to lessen the work or take the work off the shoulders of their co-workers. And then the secret of this is because it makes themselves more important than the other. You can read about this in the Bhagavad Gita, but often people do not understand this. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, it is better to follow your own Dharma, even halfway, than to take over the Dharma of another person and do it perfectly. Because in this case, you are escaping from your own Dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word meaning duty and responsibility. You might ask, what if you do not have a good example of a father? The answer is that you must find a good teacher immediately. That is what the teacher does. He or she comes and replaces the father. The teacher always is the father or the mother. Or your grandparents can be your father or your mother. Now let me close with this jewel about Dharma and karma. Is the question, how does the performance of your Dharma affect your karma? And here's the answer. Performance of duty and responsibility decreases the power of your karma and sometimes even annihilates it. For example, you see a person whom you have hurt. You hurt the person very badly. You cause the person's family to be divided or even destroyed. Now you have a very bad karma. What else can you do? You can go and help that person. You're going to suffer lots. You're going to correct the conditions and ask the person's forgiveness and blessings. You might even give money to that person and support their family. Then your karma is gone because you did good. And one last thing, the teaching. The teaching is also called Dharma because the teaching is the highest responsibility that we have. There is no responsibility higher than to be in the teaching, because the teaching is the law of the universe. So happy Father's Day. I know this is a short talk, but it is so deep. And I know it's going to evoke memory and pain and wishes and so forth. But the important thing is that we now have the education to be better parents, to be better grandparents, to be better great-grandparents. And if we have the opportunity to undo some of the mistakes we've done, we have the time to do that as well. So, does anybody have questions? I know we usually don't have time for questions and answers, but we do now. We have a lot of time. So. I was thinking about my own mom and dad, because I'm adopted, so I adopted parents. It made no sense to me whatsoever to ever connect with my biological parents or to even try to find them. And this is why, one of the reasons I've been able to see now in hindsight, it doesn't make any difference whether your parents are biological or they adopted you, it's still your Dharma. And I had so much experience of seeing the affirmation that my mom and dad were truly my mom and dad, that they were my destiny to be mom and dad, and I was their destiny to be their daughter. I was blessed to have a wonderful father. He was compassionate, he was kind, he was loving, he was hardworking. Never a day would go by that we wouldn't sit down and talk, and he would teach me things, and we both had spirituality in common. We'd both go to church together, and we would talk about that and what I didn't believe in and what he did. And we would come together, in our understanding. He was a great grandfather to my two boys. He was an intellect, but he never used his intellect in a degrading way to those that were not intellectual. He was just, I remember he taught me how to play tennis, taught me how to play golf. He would get up at those god-awful early hours in the morning to take me to practices and singing fests and things at school, said, okay, you have to bring your child here early. We would always get up. He would get up early in the morning, and off we'd take in the car. So, yeah, I really have a lot of gratitude with my dad. And he has formed who I am today. Truly significant. Handsome man, really handsome man. So that's my story, and I've taken up 3 minutes. Val.
You said start teaching your child at 10
Right.
how to be a father. So what are some of the basic tenets of that?
Well, being a daughter, he didn't teach me. But I had a mom that taught me, 10, maybe even earlier, how to be a good wife. And having grown up in Iowa, how to be a good wife growing up in Iowa is very different than being a wife in Arizona today. And certainly being a wife today is different than when I was 10 years old and younger. But she taught me about service. And in teaching me about service, she taught me about health, how to study and learn about health. She taught me how to iron. I was an ornery young lady, let me tell you. I didn't want to iron. I thought I was being abused because I had to iron clothes. Because it was never explained to me why I needed. See, I thought I was just doing mom's work. Right? So she taught me. Those are ways she taught me. I can think of my father, the way he worked with my two boys, and he would teach them everything about sports, not about how to be a father. That just was not part of, something that he knew he should or could have done. But he taught them by example. And I can, his life example, hard work, take care of your wife, make a good income, be good to your children, things like that. So he was, and that's what Father does. And as I was saying in the talk, children learn by example better than they learn by words. So I don't iron today, just to let you know. I use a steamer. Yeah, fun, huh? Any other questions? Okay, so we'll have a wonderful day today thinking about our fathers, and if your dad is still with you, or even your grandfather, or your great grandfather. Should be long gone by now. Anyway, yeah, have a good day and wonderful memories, and maybe a special dinner tonight to celebrate your dad, even if he's not here.